ferment like wine in the barrel of your body. Alright, we have a crooked camera set up. Everything is wonky, and hopefully nothing falls and we survive this entire video. And yeah, fingers crossed. Here's hoping. I've been getting into poetry recently. It's something that I've shied away from in the past years, but the more I do it, the more I realize that I'm actually good at it. Well, that's what I think, and I'd like to believe that. So I want to improve my poetry writing because, I'm not a student of literature. I've never been too keen on poetry in the past either. Like, I always used to think that it's not my strongest suit, so I used to write other things than poetry. But I think I'm in this era of time where I'm embracing poetry again, and I'm seeing it for myself, how liberating it is, how you can say so much in just like a few lines, and something about that is so magical, and it just is very freeing and inspiring as a writer. So I've been looking into more resources to sort of polish my poetry and improve it on the way, in the hopes that one day maybe I'm going to be an inspiring poet. Who knows? So in the verge of that, so I was looking into some of the poetries that I've been personally inspired by. And although I don't have like a personal favorite poet, I remember somebody asked me this question once at an open mic night, and I just didn't have an answer because I was like, wait, I don't know which is my favorite poet. Like, I should have one, right? That makes sense to have a favorite poet if you're an aspiring poet yourself. But then I was like, yeah, I don't really know. I don't really have one. I was just trying to find like, what is my ideal poetry style, or like, who do I resonate with most? I've been hearing about Rumi's poetries a lot, here and there. I would see it in like quotes and stuff, and I know that he was one of the most influential, mystical, and he just surpassed like all the borders of the world, and a lot of people are fans of his work. He was one of a kind. His poetry has that certain type of magic and element. I don't know what it is. It probably is the Sufiness in him. Something about him is really magical, and I really like his style. I just thought it would be so amazing if I would try to write like him. One can only try. Rumi was a Persian poet, Islamic scholar, and Sufi mystic whose profound spiritual insights continue to resonate even today. Born in what is now Afghanistan, Rumi spent much of his life in Konya, Turkey. His most famous work, the Masnavi, is a collection of poems exploring love, spirituality, and the connection between humanity and the divine. Rumi's writings transcend cultural and religious boundaries, inspiring millions with their universal themes of love, compassion, and the quest for inner truth. His timeless wisdom reminds us of the beauty of the human experience and the importance of connecting with one another. I recently made this amazing, fantastic airport purchase. It's translated work of Rumi by Haleh Liza Ghaffori. It's called Gold. I have read his poetry here and there, but never had like a poetry book. This was actually like a little treat that I absolutely come to love. I haven't finished it yet, and I just keep reading some of the poem from this book, like before I go to bed, like after I wake up sometime and I get from work. Let me just read like one poem I really like. Sure that there are many, but this one really is something that I read, and I was like, immediately I was like, whoa, that's heavy. Here it goes. You shattered my cup, you shattered my cage. Light, feast, triumphant blessing. Friend, trickster, heaven for my drunken heart. You brought my spirit to a boil, turned my grapes to wine. You lit a fire to the fragrant wood, and body of song in me. Watch the smoke rise. Just like mic drop. It's a very good breakup poem, I feel, it's a heartbreak poem. I'm sorry, Mr. Rumi, like, I don't know, how did you even survive like in this world, knowing so much and just learning to even bring that to words. Like many times the thoughts that I have in my mind, it's hard to translate it into words. Words fail short to kind of, give the message away, everything that's happening in my mind. And I find it difficult. I struggle with it sometimes, but just reading Rumi's work, I feel like this man successfully translated everything that was going on in his mind and spirit to just words. You can just tell by reading it. The way this man's mind worked, I would be like really fascinated to just sit and have a talk with him, like have a conversation with him. I would love to dig his brain. This is why I kind of wanted to like try his routine as well, because I think that a lot of his work is deeply spiritual, and I consider myself to be a spiritual person to an extent, and so this is also one of the reasons why I wanted to try his writing style and try his routine and see how that comes into play for my own work. What I found through all my research is that he was basically a Sufi, so a lot of what he wrote or his poems were basically he just speaking it out. Rumi would just build out poem as he went to his day-to-day life, so it was not something that he was like trying to do actively. Like he wasn't trying to write poetry as a part of his like a work or something. He was doing it simply because it came to him. I think he was like a spiritual as well as mystically gifted man, and I don't think everyone has that sort of power and have that sort of like thoughts or messages come to themselves. From a spiritual standpoint, it makes sense to me, because I feel like there are many times when I'm just sitting, on a day-to-day basis, when I'm just doing nothing. I'm going for a walk, or I'm just, going about my day, doing something like a house chore or something. Some thoughts will start just building up in my mind. Like I will start thinking about it out of nowhere. It will just come out of nowhere, and then I'll be, that is quite interesting. Let me just write that down. And I've done that quite often. But it's the only thing I feel like is that because our lives are so busy and constantly occupied by our work and, people and our hobbies and several other things, we don't have enough time in the day to sort of have that sort of time to ourselves, that solitude where you are able to think things through. So that's why we do meditation and, we practice mindfulness. Anyways, so I found this website. Maybe I'll just put a picture of it or just information about it somewhere on my video so that you can go look it for yourself. Page has the information on how, like the writing methods of Rumi. So I'm just going to go through it all. First step to write like Rumi is deep listening. So spend some time by yourself, like meditation. Just practice listening to yourself, your body, your soul, whatever you have that is going on. Not your mind, okay, not the mind chatter. That's not what I'm talking about. There's a part of you that is not the mind, not the body, but it's the soul. So I know that's a really heavy sentence, and that means several things, and it is very literal, but what I'm trying to say is that when you just have that moment to yourself, there will be something that will be coming out of nowhere. Trust me, you just need to practice that a little bit more to get there. It's probably the hardest part, I think, of this whole entire Rumi experiment, is to try to listen to yourself. And again, like, it's not about listening to your mind or the mind chatter that's going on where you're like thinking about tomorrow or the day after or 5 years from now. It's about listening to yourself very actively, and that's like, what is going on in my soul? What is my spirit telling me? It doesn't make no sense unless you experience it for yourself. So you just need to practice that more. I would just say, like, the first thing for starters is just like have that quiet time for yourself. Maybe do nothing at all. Try to get no thoughts in your mind. Imagine that don't even exist in this world, and like that the only moment of truth is you sitting wherever you are and listening to whatever you are and seeing whatever you are. Just imagine that's your ultimate reality, and the rest will fall into place. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice. It's very spiritual, but you just have to try. You can't do it if you're impatient. I think you need to be really patient with this one. Hey, so I am heading towards the park where I plan to go and basically just sit, put on some music, some meditation-ish kind of music, or maybe Sufi music for, more inspiration. And then just sit in silence and just try to listen to myself. I think recently my routine has been sort of like after my workout is done, after my, I eat my dinner, and I usually go to this park for watching sunsets, and I always play Hosier. And let me tell you if you already didn't know, Hosier and sunsets, that's a magical combo. Like, I cannot even begin to tell. I feel like I'm out of like the world. It's such a spiritual experience, You should try it. Definitely try it. But yeah, today I'm not going to play Hosier, or maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I'll just mix it up a little bit. But according to the website, they recommended a couple of things to listen to as sort of a practice for applying Rumi's mystical ways. So maybe I'll just tune into that. I've been doing this. I've been going to this park, just, sitting in silence for some time now. And I really love it. I really love this part of my day. It just helps me unwind after that high energetic cortisol packed routine all day long. I think it just really helps me unwind. So I've been really loving it recently. And you know, before the winter comes in, and now it's just like the perfect time because fall is right around the corner, almost here, and so you can already feel it in the breeze. And I really love it. So it's just a perfect time to be like, you know, just sitting outside and feeling things. So I've been doing that already, but today I'm just gonna try to be more intentional about it. Like generally try to listen instead of like running my mind all along, because even when I'm like going up for the sunset, sometimes I'm not really like, you know, my mind's going places. But today I just want to listen to what my soul has going on. I mean, I'm really curious, I'm really excited, so I'll keep you guys posted. Okay, an update. So I went to the park today and I listened to some really good songs, actually some good music, and I just tried feeling things. And it was the weather was perfect, the wind was so good, you know, just like I just forgot about everything for a while. And I was looking at the sky and I was feeling something, and I had some lines in my mind, but I didn't really, poem didn't come to me is what I'm trying to say, you know what I mean? Like, because when I went into that experience, I was thinking that a poetry will come out of it, but apparently not. Like, I don't think that's how it works, because there have been several times that I've just, you know, gone in situations like that without an intention of like, you know, getting a poetry out, and for some reason I just have like lines circling around my mind, and then I start writing it down on my notes app. And that's how it's always been in the past, but not this time. But I did have a really good time. Like, I enjoy the wind, the sunset was so pretty, and everyone, I just could see it, like everyone in the park were just feeling it. The wind was just too good, like it was so sweet and breezy and romantic, you know, and it was just perfect. And the colors of the sunset in the sky, and just like the birds flying, and just like that scenario, and just like being there at that moment and just listening to my music in my headphone was perfect. It was so good. Joys of life are just simple. I wasn't having a great day, but just going there just made me feel so good. I love it. Like, I just love being outside. I think it just gives me so much inspiration. And even if it's just a park, you know, as long as the weather is right, the whole experience can be so good on a different level. So highly recommend it. So in this web page specifically, this author has given a creative writing exercise, which I personally love. So Rumi has, as I said before, Rumi uses a lot of metaphors in his work, and he just compares and contrasts like things with different elements. Okay, basically, like, you know, has given Rumi's poetry as a foundation for us to use and apply it as a part of this exercise. So there's this line from Rumi's poem, which is, "We live in this night ocean, wondering what are these lights." Now here, night ocean refers to universe or the world, and what are these lights refers to hope, guidance, or like unanswered questions. In this line, Rumi is trying to say, like, we just are existing in this world, in this universe, trying to understand like all our unanswered questions, trying to understand where the light is coming from, you know, all that sort of thing. So this author suggests us to do is to take that metaphor away, so night ocean away, and lights away, and replace it with something of our own. So let's say we live in this, so what can we say instead of night ocean? Like, I don't know, void. Like, universe can be a void, right? Like, this world can be a void. We live in this void, wondering where the windows are, or where the door is, or something like that. You get the point. Like, you're just basically replacing the metaphors and coming up with your own, and trying to fit it within these lines, and seeing how that works for you. This is a damn good exercise to just try to practice using metaphors. I personally love the use of metaphors, so I've been trying to adapt more of metaphors in my own writing, and just, you know, basically just be able to, for the readers to have that experience where they can paint the poetry for themselves and like come up with an image in their mind. I think that this is a really good exercise to try to practice that. I think this is a really good website to start from. I think this is a good resource, so I would highly recommend it. If you're trying to write poetry at all, if you're trying to like write like Rumi, or just like come up with poetry, and if you're intimidated, or you're like, I don't think I can write a poem, I would say just start it out. Like, you have to start somewhere. Trust me, I was there. I was at that point where I felt like I can never write poetry, because I always used to assume that I was just not good at it, and I was totally wrong, you know, because I think I'm not the best at it, but I feel like I'm getting better with time for sure. Like, the more I write, the more refined I feel in my craft. So I would highly recommend it. Also, you need to understand the themes revolve revolving around Rumi's poems if you want to adapt into that writing style. So he uses a lot of spirituality, mysticism, and a lot of romantic themes in his poems. And it's one thing about like Rumi's poetry, right? There's like love is central theme of his poetry, and it's not just romantic love, but it's also the love for you feel for yourself, you love that you feel for your loved ones, your family, or the divine or the higher power, whatever that means for you, right? So love is definitely the central theme of all of his poems, and he writes such fantastic poems of love, and it's just absolutely mesmerizing. And I think just being able to like tap into that mindset, that sort of mentality, is also really helpful, or just like trying to adapt into such kind of writing is really helpful when it comes to writing like Rumi. I think it's very important as a creative to just have that time set apart in your day or in your routine, or just like maybe in your week. You don't have to do it on a day-to-day basis either, to just come up with those ideas. The other thing is that just surround yourself with like work that inspires you. Like I feel like Hosier recently has really sparked my interest in music, and I feel like something about Hosier and the sunsets, if you haven't experienced it, I swear it's just a spiritual experience of its own. Like go watch beautiful sunsets listening to Hosier. It's like such a good experience. You can thank me later. Anyway, when coming back to this, I wrote this poem recently, just came out of this whole experience, and I'm just hoping that you like it, okay? It's just some little poem that I wrote, and it's basically about trying to find the one. I was just thinking about the concept of the one and finding the perfect partner, and then I was thinking about all these things that I want in a partner and how it will never be met because they're all so contradictory, and it's impossible to find a person who has all these contradicting qualities. And I was like, wait, what I'm looking for is probably a unicorn. And I thought deeply into it, and I was like, wait, that's not true, because I feel like most of these qualities are the qualities that I already possess. And I was like, wait a minute, like have I become the man that I wanted to marry once? I was like, that was a revelation. This all happened during this whole experience when I was just going to this park trying to listen to myself. So I'm just saying that, listen guys, sometimes you just have all those epiphanies if you just give yourself a little time in the day to just sit in quiet and like listen to yourself. And I'm pretty sure there are some things that will just be shocking and revelatory to you as well. So anyway, just coming back to the point, let me read my poem that came out of this whole experience, and I'm sure you like it. If not, then if not, I don't know, keep it to yourself. When I was younger, I dreamt of a knight, tall and strong as a sycamore tree, a spirit so free, wise in his ways, clever humor for rainy days, a man of art, perhaps, words and poetry his pursuit, music in the language he speaks, a stallion, resilient, unbreakable, determined with the will of a steel, layered, complex, modest, sincere, and confident, stoic on his exterior, but a heart of gold, radiating compassion and empathy, fiery like a flame if need be, an adventurer, a seeker, a traveler, mystical, magical, almost mythical. Truly, what a man he would make. The older I grow, the more I know. This knight I dreamt of was never who I wanted to find, but everything I longed to be. And while I bicker at the loss of this idea that no living man could surpass my imagination so rich, I rejoice in knowing perhaps I'm becoming this vision, this wild creation of my mind, the night I dreamt of once when I was younger. I love it. It speaks in volumes to me. It's deeply personal, and at the same time, I love how I've used metaphors in it, and it's just the way that I wanted it to be. And so yeah, this is what came out of the whole experience. My writing style is like, I'm not the person who just sits through and has like a set routine. I don't think I work best that way. Maybe it works for some people, I don't know. But for me personally, I don't think that's like how I produce my best work. It always happens almost spontaneously. To learn that Rumi himself was almost like a spontaneous poet himself. Like he didn't sit down and write most of his work, turns out. I'm so inspired by it. Like I am absolutely impressed by how a person can go so far, so deep into this process of like thinking through things, and also like organizing their thoughts enough to create like verses. That is just crazy, because sometimes I will have fantastic ideas in my mind, and like there will be several things I will be like, whoa, this is heavy stuff, and I would want to like bring it out to the words, but then words fail to translate those thoughts, and it's just like so you're trying your best and it doesn't always match. I feel like Rumi just does that fantastic job of blending his all of these amazing thoughts that he had and all of these deep philosophical insights about life and the divine and love, and put it into words, and create all these verses that are so poetic in nature, have such meaning to it, and still is highly, it relates to people from across different walks of life and backgrounds all through this time. It's just amazing. Like, he's definitely one of the greatest poets who ever lived. I just absolutely love Rumi. Recently my life has been a lot of Rumi, a lot of Hosier, a lot of sunsets, and a lot of spending time with myself. I think this is what maturity looks like, or old age looks like. I think this is what happens when you turn an old person. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. If this is the first time you just stumble upon this channel, I hope that you decide to subscribe and just keep watching my videos in the future. If you're a writer, just feel free to just comment and let me know what your process is. I would love to know what your creative process looks like. If you're a poet, let me know what your inspiration is, for writing poetry. What is your routine? I would love to hear from you. Let's just make this a community where we can all learn and grow from each other. I really love that. So yeah, feel free to do that, and also share it with your friends, and come back for more, I guess. Thanks so much for watching. You could be watching anything in this world, but the fact that you decided to come here and sit and watch me talk is actually really nice of you. So thank you so much. Alright, we'll pack this up. I think we are done here. Hopefully I've gotten all of this in record.